All right, guys, it's time for the Covrprice Top 10, but this time we are going back 3 years. All right, guys, we're going to get into this list from 3 years ago, but first I wanted to remind everyone, hit that thumbs up and all that jazz. And tonight, if you are watching this video on the day of the release, Friday, I will be doing an auction on Whatnot with artist Ryan Brown. We've got a whole bunch of great stuff coming your way. And if you're watching this over the weekend, next week, a big t-shirt drop with Davis Ryder on Whatnot, and the final Friday. Fridays for the rest of the month of April, 8 o'clock Eastern, last Friday of the month. Check out the mystery boxes. That is outstanding. Get over there on Whatnot, VERYGARY_comics. Hit the bookmark, and these are going to be some great auctions. But enough of that. Let's get into this Covrprice video. Now, this list comes to us from our friends over at Covrprice, focusing on their top 10 from 3 years ago. I'm going to take you through each title's sales compared from 2019. This is pre-pandemic numbers, guys. Market values to today's current values. How did these comics do? What had a boost in price? What was a bust? Let's go way back and see how these are doing 3 years later. We're going to start with number 10. What other number should we start with other than 10? This is Young Avengers number 1. Now, 3 years ago, this week, it was announced that Kevin Feige would oversee a Hawkeye Disney Plus series, which would introduce Kate Bishop to the MCU. Her first appearance is in this first issue of Young Avengers. It began trending for the first time. It had a raw fair market value of $50 with a high sale of $233 for a CGC 9.8. I bet we'd all want that now at that price, because 3 years later, this key issue is shaping up to be one of the most important for Phase 4 of the MCU. Multiple members of the Young Avengers have been introduced or will be in the near future. Today, raws sell for about a fair market value of $200 with 9/8 at about $851. This is a boost, and I bet you there is still room to grow. The reason I say that is the Agatha effect, guys. We all knew Agatha was coming. We all knew who she was in the Disney Plus show. And then as soon as that name dropped, boom, her book, her first appearance, Fantastic Four, exploded. Well, expect that with this book. We've seen 4 or 5 members now of the Young Avengers, with Kate Bishop and maybe the twins, right? Wiccan and Speed, maybe the twins having more screen time, right? Kate Bishop was all over the place, obviously. And now with Doctor Strange around the corner, we're going to get more of the twins and possibly confirming they're officially in our multiverse, our universe from the multiverse. And Wanda saves them and brings them back. You know, they're part of the Young Avengers as well. So this book does have room to grow. I actually totally agree with that, which is crazy to say, because there's some more characters too that need to be introduced, but I'm excited for this. Will it hit the big screen? Will it hit the small screen? I don't know. I'm thinking it's going to be a Disney Plus series, but I could be totally wrong. Could totally be a big screen film. We'll see. Let's go down to number 9. This is Naomi number 3. Guys, this list is a lot of Marvel and DC, no indies. 3 years ago, Naomi was the hottest thing in comics. She dominated Covrprice's top 10 for months. High expectations of her having major ties to DC's elite heroes had fans driving up the value for her first appearance and this issue's partial origin, which had a high sale of $16 for a raw copy. Now, 3 years later, Naomi lost a lot of steam, and this issue fell to $11 raw and $30 in a 9.8. This is a bust, not a big one. We're actually going to get into Naomi more on this list, so I don't want to get too much into it. Let's go down to number 8. This is The Silencer, number 15. Folks love new characters. 3 years ago, this issue was one of those FOMO books featuring the new character Smoke. It had a high sale of $18 for a raw copy, $50 for a 9.8. 3 years later, we now know that Smoke died 2 issues later in Silencer 17. Sales are very slow for this issue, despite trending at a fair market value of $10. Last 9.8 sale was in 2019. This was a bust. You still only paid $50 for a 9.8. Shouldn't beat yourself up on this book if you did pay top dollar, because even though sales are like extremely slow, it's not, didn't fall off the ledge, you know? We're going to talk about ledge dropping later. Let's go to number 7. This is Avengers number 684. While Naomi was the hot new character for DC, for Marvel, it was all about Immortal Hulk, whose first appearance was in this issue. This value still seems low compared to all the series heat. It trended at a fair market value of $45 raw with a high sale of $175 for CGC 9.8. 3 years later, values have surprisingly stayed stable with today's raw fair market value of $41 and $143 for 9/8, while a slight bust Immortal Hulk is still sought after and had the smallest dip in value. People like Hulk, people like Immortal Hulk. Good story. It ended now. What do we have? Donny Cates writing Hulk, right? I think it takes place right after Immortal Hulk. I can't see this book really dropping too much, especially because a lot of people enjoyed the character, liked the story. I don't know. Just my opinion. Let's go to number 6. This is Eternals number 3. 3 years ago this week, it was rumored that Angelina Jolie would play the role of Cersei in Marvel's Eternals. This rumor pushed Raws to a fair market value of $60 with a high sale of $750 for CGC 9.8. 3 years later, we know now that while rumors were correct that Angelina Jolie would be in the Eternals film, she actually played the character Thena. The film was met with mixed reviews, which caused market values for all Eternal books to plummet. This was no exception. Raw's trend at a fair market value of $13, 9/8 at a fair market value of $380. This is one of the bigger busts on our list, guys, and I don't understand. I talk to Matt from Pressable Defects all the time about Eternals. I enjoyed the movie, but the books are taking an absolute beating, and maybe we need to see these characters in more Marvel projects, which will happen. We know they're going to keep coming back. They're a big part of the cosmic universe and a big part of the MCU. But man, these books are, I don't know another, and they're heroes. That's the thing. You know, you see this happen to the villain books, first appearance of certain villains, they die off or they become irrelevant, and then the book starts to go down. When have we ever seen MCU characters' first appearances plummet like this? And I don't know why. Mixed reviews for the movie, but it's literally 50-50. Like, I feel like half the people really disliked it and the other half really loved it. And maybe that's why these books are not where I would have assumed they would be. Whew, that's a lot of talk. Let's go down to number 5. This is the Savage She-Hulk number 1. 3 years ago, during the Disney streaming press release, it was announced that Kevin Feige will oversee several Disney streaming MCU-connected TV shows. Now, this includes an Incredible Hulk series that was rumored to include She-Hulk. This rumor caused her long undervalued first appearance to trend at $50 raw with a high sale of $500 for 9.8. Ooh, I wish I could get it at that price now. 3 years later, once again, the market had it partially right. The Hulk series turned out to be dedicated to She-Hulk Disney Plus series that would also feature Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. Now today, Raw's trend at $153, 9/8 at $904. However, her first appearance hit a high of $1,700 in April of 2021. We're not sure why it dropped so significantly. However, it could be due to frustrations around no official trailer showing Jennifer Walters in all her She-Hulk glory. Still, 3 years later, this is a boost, and there may be a little bit of room more if we get a real trailer. You know, we saw that little snippet when they showed, that was a few months back, of all the Disney Plus series upcoming. We haven't really seen a trailer. A lot of rumors about villains, maybe some announcements, but really expect She-Hulk to be around too. I can't see this being like a one and done thing, man. I think she's going to be around, and I do think the prices are going to go up just a little bit. This brings us to number 4. Shazam number 1. Now, this time 3 years ago, the Shazam film had just been released and was a huge hit, causing a big aftermarket resurgence on his early first appearances. The focus mostly went to this particular issue, which featured the first appearance of Captain Marvel and Mary Marvel since the Golden Age. Guys, the Golden Age books are on another level. It trended at $55 raw and had a high sale of $1,119 for CGC 9.8. 3 years later, values have mostly held, with raw copies at $41 and 9/8 at just over $1,000. While a bust, it's pretty much a break even, and we have a Shazam movie coming in the near future, as well as Black Adam, which could push the Shazam. I always felt this book was undervalued. Always felt it was undervalued. $1,000 for 9/8 seems still to me just a tad undervalued. I would expect like a $1,400, $1,500 range. Just, again, my opinion. Don't go running out and buying the book because I said that. Do your due diligence. Do your homework. I always say that. You do your homework. But I've always felt it's a little undervalued. I like the cover as well. You may see this book pop a little bit when we get closer to the movie. or I should say, a trailer drop. And again, the Black Adam may start to push this book up. So we'll see. Let's get down to number 3. This is Naomi, number 1. Wow, did this book really take off 3 years ago? As noted, there was no hotter book in the aftermarket than Naomi, number 1. Raw copies hit a high sale of $120, 9/8 that went to auction and finished at $587.77. 3 years later, Naomi may not be as hot as she once was, but her first appearance does retain some value. It's just not nearly the levels it was 3 years ago. Raws currently sell for $37 with 9/8 around $110. So what happened to Naomi? It was all due to her origin. Rampant speculation around her having ties to Superman or even the Lanterns set the expectation bar too high. When it was revealed that she was simply from an alternate Earth that uses energy-based powers, which is where she draws her powers from, the collecting community responded with a disappointment, and the book instantly plummeted in market value. The fact this book retains any value is due to the Ava DuVernay Naomi CW series. While this was a bust, there could still be some long-term potential in here. Maybe some long-term. I don't think this will ever hit the numbers it did back in 2019. I feel bad for anyone who spent almost $600 on this book in a 9/8. It right now seems like the right value. I'll be honest with you. Right now seems about right. $30 to $40 for a raw copy, 9/8 just over 100. This seems right. So I don't know how much this would really go up. I don't think much. Let's get down to the last 2 here. And I do want to remind everybody, check out covrprice.com. There is a discount code for the platform, for the website, down below in the description. Check it out. I use it. I really enjoy it. I like the fact that there's pictures there. It just helps. Sometimes pictures are better than words, especially with comic books. Sometimes. Let's go down to number 2. This is Spider-Man Deadpool number 47. Now, show of hands. Who remembers Major X? Well, 3 years ago, the Liefeld creation took Marvel by storm and was immensely hot. This Spider-Man Deadpool issue caused a bit of a stir for containing a brief cameo of Major X before his official appearance in Major X number 1. It hit a high raw sale of $35, 9/8 selling for $100. 3 years later, the market has little interest in Major X. This cameo first appearance now sells for $10. Those sales are very slow. The last 9.8 sale was May of 2021, which is almost a year ago, for $57. Though it would most likely sell for less today. This was a bust. FOMO all over the place. These new characters. Look at Naomi. Look at Major X. FOMO everywhere. Careful on the new. I would rather miss out on the next new hot character than buy all the new hot characters. I'd rather focus on a well-established character, even if it's a modern book from the 90s, like a Gambit, like a Deadpool, like a Cable. I'd rather focus my money on something like that than turning around and trying to grab all the new hottest first appearances. You might miss one or two, but more times than not, this happens. Exactly what I just said. It's far too common. But, I always say, if you bought the book off the rack, you're reading the stories, you don't care. Who cares? If you bought it off the rack for $2.99, $3.99, $4.99, whatever it was, who cares? And as long as you didn't pay that top dollar, who cares? And also, if you paid the top dollar because you wanted it and it's in your collection, then who cares? Right? We're just running numbers here, guys. Just running numbers. Let's go down to number 1. This is Wolverine 154. Now, as noted, Major X was not just one of the hottest books of the week. He was the hottest character of the week. Mr. Liefeld was very active on social media promoting his new Major X series. He hinted that this issue of Wolverine, of which he wrote and drew, contained some future characters and plot points to upcoming issues of Major X. With that news, this trended at $20 raw and had a high sale of $100 in a 9.8. 3 years later, Liefeld's hint did bear fruit with Major X number 3, which reintroduced Pigskin, Vance Rebus, Deadeye, Dick, Mega, Max, Reckless Eric, and the Scourge. I screwed something up there. These characters did, in fact, first appear in Wolverine 154. However, today the market doesn't seem to pick this book up for those appearances. The cover featuring Wolverine vs. Deadpool is the main draw, helping it stay at a fair market value of $24 with 9.8 coming in at 57. Now, it's a break even for Raw, but a bust graded. That's our list tonight, guys. I want to break everything down for you really quick here because we went back 3 years. Now, 3 years is a long time in the comic world. Many of the books on this list were the FOMO books of the week. While several went down in value, the drop was mostly minimal with a few expectations like Eternals number 3. Buying into Young Avengers number 1 and She-Hulk number 1 at this point would have been fantastic, but how do the overall numbers shake out? Well, in 2019, buying all these at market price would have cost you $469 raw, $3,614 graded. Now today, those raws would now fetch about $540. The graded, $3,542. That would have gained you $71 raw and lost you $72 graded, which means 3 years later, you would have lost $1. So if you sat out all of these, you really didn't miss much. But there are still some great long-term books here that can easily turn the market value around. 100%. That Savage She-Hulk's a great one, as well as Young Avengers. You know, I always say too, the older keys, the Eternals. That one got me, and I explained it earlier. Like, that one gets me. I don't understand the hate for Eternals books. Maybe it's the covers, maybe it's the characters. I don't know. But we're not gonna. We haven't seen the last of these Eternal characters. Just remember that, guys. Make sure you check out Covrprice.com. Their current top 10, as well as their various movers and shakers list, guys. Come back next time because we're doing this list again, but we're only going to go back 1 year. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep it comics.